Experimenting with anamorphic can be very expensive. With a decent 1.5 times anamorphic adapter, like this one from Blazer Nero, and a lens, you can spend well over £1,000. Very expensive if you want to try anamorphics for the first time. Today we're going to look at how to do this on a budget, with the brand new 28mm Viltrox lens, which has just been released, and a $24 phone anamorphic adapter. Right, here we go. The Viltrox 28mm full frame pancake lens. And this lens is as small as an EF lens cap. It is absolutely crazy how small this lens is. And we're going to go into some video samples, and obviously we have to test the lens, but I also want to show you this. This is a experimental anamorphic at $24, which covers full frame. And we're going to talk about that later in the video. So this is a new lens from Viltrox, and it's a 28mm full frame f4.5 with a minimum focus distance of 32 centimeters. It has no manual focus, it's AF only. You can manual focus if you use the monitor and control app, but just be prepared, this is AF only. The rear mount is made of full metal, and you can see the USB-C port on the bottom there for firmware upgrades. This is it, nothing special, nothing else. This lens has no lens cap or no filter thread. The way you open the cap is just to push this little lever backwards and forwards. It's crazy. And did I mention that this lens is absolutely tiny? So before we get into the fun stuff, we need to check the sharpness on this lens. I won't keep you long here, let's just see how it performs. When I first put the image into DaVinci Resolve, I could see that it had very low contrast with this standard Rec. 709 LUT. I had to add contrast just to see what the sharpness was like, but once I added the contrast, you can see that the sharpness is perfect in the center, and also in the corners is very nice too. So you're going to have to do this in grading, but you can get a very nice clean image from this lens. Now we're going to get onto the anamorphic part with the $24 phone anamorphic. Now I think this image is absolutely perfect. I love it. I love the softness of the corners and the edges, and I know some people would complain about it, but this is anamorphic. Looking at the Blazer Nero at £800 with this Voigtlander lens, you can see that we have really soft edges on there. We can see the artifacts, everything going on, but it still looks great. Still looks very artistic, very anamorphic. Even in Hollywood movies, you can see on the left here that the fall off is very soft. And we're talking about a Star Wars production. And this was a good production in my opinion. But yes, when using anamorphic lenses, even in Hollywood, you can see right here on the left hand side that we have massive fall off in sharpness, but the center remains sharp. So let's look at some samples that I made with this anamorphic $24 adapter. Building the anamorphic lens is very simple. I will put a link down below to this $24 mobile phone anamorphic. It's a 1.5 times anamorphic and I think it works perfectly, and I'm amazed that it actually covers full frame. It's made of full metal as well, so it doesn't feel cheap, and I think it's actually good quality. It comes with this clip here, and this is the clip which you use to connect it to your mobile phone. We don't need the clip, but we do need that little circle runner that's inside. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop this piece out, just force it out, and it will come out in one piece because it's all made of metal. On the rear side of this holder, it will have some padding there. Just remove the padding and clean off all the sticky residue. So now we've taken it off, we can apply our 3M tape to the back. Just make sure you cut it neatly so it can't be seen from the outside. And then you can just place it on the front of the lens because the front of the lens has the ring around it, which is perfect mount for this. The hole is the perfect size for the lens as well, so you won't get any vignetting or the lens won't touch the actual anamorphic adapter mount. So just put it on, press it down firmly, and it will stick on and you're good to go. From there, we just take our anamorphic lens and then we just screw it on. And once it's screwed in, we're all good to go. A tiny, clean little anamorphic setup. This is going to be perfect for experimenting for your films, for travel, all sorts of things I can imagine you can do with this. If you don't like the extreme softness on the edges, then just crop in a bit more. If you're using something like a FX30, which has a 6K downsampled sensor, it will look much better. But here you can see on full frame that there's no vignetting around the edges or any problems. So that's the end, and I hope you're still here because there's a few more things I've got to say regarding this anamorphic setup and the Viltrox lens. Firstly, the Viltrox lens by itself is fantastic. For £99, it's a no-brainer. Fantastic travel lens, great to just throw in a bag, so small that even if you've got it on your camera, you can even fit that in your pocket. It's absolutely crazy what they've managed to pack in such a small, cheap lens. It's crazy. Secondly, I want to talk about the anamorphics, because that is experimental, but it's fun experimental. It's so cheap at $24. Why wouldn't you want to try it? As your first entry into anamorphics, why wouldn't you want to try it? Don't worry too much about the edge softness or the fall off because a lot of anamorphics display those qualities as we've spoken about before. Just have fun and experiment with it, and at such a low cost, even if you don't have a lot of money to spend, it's something that you can experiment with. A small mobile phone anamorphic that covers a full frame sensor with this lens is absolutely fantastic. I didn't think I'd ever see something like that. So for $24, I suggest you buy it and the lens and experiment with it, have some fun. Now there are a couple of caveats. That one, you can't achieve infinity focus. So if you go too far back, I'd say maybe about 12 foot, maybe 15 foot, your subject is going to be slightly soft in your image. So try to keep everything within that 15-foot range. I mean, you're shooting anamorphic on quite a wide lens, so there's a lot that you can fit into that. And there's so many use cases where you can use that. This is a very clean anamorphic setup. In my opinion, probably one of the best ones I've seen in terms of how easy it is to install and how clean it looks. And last thing I'm going to say is, don't worry about what other filmmakers have got to say. If you can tell a story with it, then use it. See you later.